Hey, I'm Lex.
And I'm Gibby, and welcome to another episode of Porch Swing People.
Each week, we bring a guest onto the podcast to talk about whatever they want to talk about. Stories from their past, what's going on in their present, or any of their hopes or dreams for the future. We think of it like a digital front porch, and we hope that it inspires people to connect with the friends, family, or even strangers in their life in a positive way. Who do we have on for the podcast today, Gibby?
Today we have Judd. I don't know Judd very well, and I'm very excited about having a chat with him.
Me too. Should we bring him onto the pod?
Please.
Copy that.
Copy that. Hey, Judd.
Hey,
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
doing good. How are you guys?
Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
This can be really fun. So, Judd, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, I live in Keokuk, Iowa. I've lived here since I was in the fifth grade. I'm a financial advisor with Principal Financial Group. It's kind of a worldwide company that handles 401k, mutual fund investing, money management type stuff. I've been doing that for 14 years now. So it's kind of the last stop on a long list of career moves that I had made since graduating from college.
What'd you study in college?
Oh, in college, I went to a small school near home, Culver Stockton College. Studied business administration with a finance emphasis. My dad was a big entrepreneur type leader in Keokuk. He ran hospitals and banks, and he was a CPA. And I kind of knew that I wanted to end up in this area and be close to him. And so I chose the business route just because I didn't know what else to do with my life at that time.
As most of us at that time are faced with, yeah.
Yeah, when I graduated from college, I talked to him again, and he just said insurance was probably your best bet in his opinion. I was ambitious. I wanted to, make good money and do really well. And he thought I'd do better with the insurance gig. So that's where I started.
Right on.
And then I stayed there. I went to a competitor in town. I started at Stebbins and Soul Insurance, switched over to Lofton Insurance, and did that whole gig for about 5 years. And then my dad had an opportunity to go to St. Louis for a startup company. And now you guys have all heard of NVIDIA, how they're a computer chipset maker. This is way back before them. And these guys were working on some switching technology. They were trying to be a computer chipset maker. My brothers were coming in to work for the company. My dad was going down. And so I sold my interest in the insurance agency and moved down to St. Louis. And then the internet bubble burst in the year 2000. And so those startups kind of went away, including Erlang Technologies, which is the company I worked for. And so I got into real estate down in the St. Louis area. Always wanting to get back to Keokuk, though. I had an opportunity to buy a mom and pop shop in Keokuk called Kramer Real Estate, and Gibby probably remembers that.
I do remember it, yep.
And so I bought that, moved back home, and ran that for 2 or 3 years. And then I'll never forget, I was at an open house in town, and my dad stopped by, and he said, "How's the second year going?" And I said, "We're having the best year we could have ever had." I mean, their houses were flying off the shelf, but I hadn't hit the numbers I wanted to hit. I really couldn't do much better than what we did. We had 6 or 7 agents working for me, and we didn't make the kind of money I wanted to make. And so it kind of made that decision at that moment that I was going to look to get into insurance again. And so went out seeking for an insurance opportunity, ended up moving to Muscatine, Iowa for 2 years. And that didn't work out very well either. So I had this sort of history of things that they had potential. They were always good jobs, but they weren't what I was looking for. I don't know. It wasn't God's path for me, or I'm not sure why, but it just never seemed to work out. And I would always talk to my dad, and he was always like, "Hey, I think, you need to look at this or that." And then I tried to get on with State Farm Insurance. I tried to get in the state of Missouri somewhere, went through their whole process, and they turned me down as well. So then I just started my own insurance agency and ran that for a short period of time. We worked with State Farm reps. State Farm is an insurance company that can't handle a lot. Like if guys get DUIs or really bad drivers, uninsurable stuff, they can't handle that. And so I was working with them directly, and they were feeding me the business. And then I got licensed with a company called Progressive.
Uh-huh.
And I was a captive Progressive agent and built that business for about 5 years. And then sold it to another agent in town because I got recruited to run Farm Bureau. And the story gets even longer. Now we're out to about 2006.
That's a lot of stuff going on from 2000, 2006.
Well, yeah, I kind of look like a job hopper. And I mean, I wouldn't argue with you. It's like every opportunity was a smart decision.
Yeah.
At the same time, I wasn't really creating a track record where people would say, hey, this guy's a dependable guy. This guy's kind of he might jump around a little. And I'll get back to that because that came into play when Angela was in my life later.
Okay.
So what happened was I went to work for Farm Bureau. And then in 2006, there's a nursing home north of town called River Hills Village. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's a big campus. And my dad and several other business owners from the area were going to go in together and buy this facility. This is about 2007. And so they recruited me, want me to run it if they were to buy it. So I had to go back and get more schooling at Des Moines Area Community College in Des Moines. I drove there every Friday for a full year and got my license, sat for the boards. And then 2008 hit, which is the financial collapse.
Yeah.
And so all these guys lost a lot of money and they didn't end up buying River Hills Village, but I was still sitting here with the license to run nursing homes. And then a company out of Galesburg bought it, and the guy that was running the nursing home for them, he didn't want to work for a big corporation, so he walked away, and I had an opportunity to put my name in the hat, and I got hired to run the nursing home, which I did for a couple of years. Yeah, and then a pivotal moment happened in my life. I was actually at a restaurant in town, and when you're running the nursing home, you get to walk around in a fancy suit, and people think you're cool, I guess. But you're not making that much money doing it. You're just doing okay. And I ran into this guy named Ron Kuntzner, who was the owner of the business that I own today. And he was paying for his meal. And he said, hey, how you like running the nursing home? And I said, oh, it's okay. And he said, well, tell me this. Do you like walking around with that fancy suit on, or do you like making money? And I said, well, of course I'd rather make money than wear this. I don't even like wearing a suit. And so he said, well, you need to come talk to me. And so I went and talked to him, and I made the decision to buy his business. And that was 14 years ago. And it was a good business, but it needed some nurturing. He was kind of relaxing and kind of on his way out, but it was a nice basis of maybe 400 clients that I could work with and start to build into what I wanted out of the business, and ended up being the best move I ever made. And now it's just really taken off for us. It's been incredible. But we were talking about a dream or a goal that I'm currently working towards. Principal has a setup where if you're a top 180 rep in the country out of about 2,500 reps, they bring you to what's called a leaders conference annually. And it'll be a good resort in a nice town. We go to Florida, and then we'll go to Arizona and, California. And you'll spend a week with other qualifiers, and they have an award ceremony and all this kind of stuff. And we qualified our very first year, which was fortunate for us because Ange and I got to go, and then we got to witness this whole thing. And it really motivated us to try to reach that goal again. And we've been in the game for 14 years, and we've had 11 qualifications, and our town is tiny town. I mean,
Tiny.
You guys have both been to Keokuk. You know what this is, right? And I'm up against reps that are in, Dallas and Minneapolis and, all these giant cities all over the country. And so it's taken a lot of focus to try to reach that goal. But the part that sold us on it was we were sitting there at our very first one, and there were 4 Hall of Fame guys. Once you hit 20 qualifications, you advance into what they call the Principal Hall of Fame, and you're invited every year to these leader conferences, and you get to come and be a part of it with your wife. But they when the year you hit your 20th qualification, you get to bring your whole family. So any of your kids, any of your grandkids, if your parents are still alive. I mean, some of these guys had 3 tables of, 30 people, and they all go up on the stage to accept the award. And in those days, in the first 5 or 7 years, they would give a really motivating speech that was just incredible to listen to some of them. I mean, it's just really, really cool.
Yeah.
And so it's been a goal that we've really tried to hit. Now, I don't know if I'll ever get there because it's getting harder and harder to get. I don't know how long I want to do it, but it would be really cool to be able to take my family on that trip.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's an amazing motivator and also such a clear, concrete goal to work towards. I love this story. And I also think that it's amazing how the timing of everything worked out. If now would have been your first qualifier, then you wouldn't have experienced those early days of the motivational speeches and how much smaller everything kind of felt within the company. But if you had reached this even earlier, back during your, as you called it, like job hopping days, it probably would not have felt the same way then too. Like the timing was matched up to how it was supposed to be, which is incredible.
The thing that was unusual about it, because I had that history of job hopping, and that was kind of a thing. Like, how long is he going to be here? This is just another stop. Angela, who you guys both know, my wife, she was working at River Hills as the marketing director, and she was an incredible worker, employee out there. And I didn't get her hired out there. I just got her an opportunity to talk to my regional director, and they interviewed her, and they're like, "We want you," and they said, "How much money do you want?" She said this number, and the regional put money on top of it. That's how bad they wanted to recruit her in. And she was doing an amazing job there. And she didn't want me to leave to go do this again. She's like, "You've got a great job. We're here. We're doing fine. I've got a good job. You've got a good job." But the funny part about it was we didn't have any money because we were just living check to check. And I mean, I was like 40 years old and barely had any retirement saved. And so her and I had to really get in the deep grass about whether or not I was going to take that job, which I did. And it ended up being wonderful for us because it's a job where I sell retirement planning. And so we made a commitment that we were going to just extraordinarily save our money. And so we saved in those early years probably 40% of our wages.
Wow.
Which, the government's going to take 30 or whatever they take. And so you're
living on.
We felt broke for a long time. We do get take some trips and we do some stuff. I say that we're not broke, but
you were living under your means.
We're living under our means for once. And it's like it all clicked with me. And I've been able to teach my kids that same lesson, sit them down, give them the rule of 72, show them how money can accumulate if you just pay yourself first instead of paying yourself last. And now it's like I can kind of see this generational flow that's going to maybe hopefully carry on success all the way down through a long time after I'm gone from here.
Wow. That's amazing.
I was about to say the one thing that I find very interesting, the real estate business. You say, "Hey, we had a great year, the best year we ever had," and you're like, "But I got to go." That seems crazy. What a mature thought
Well, it
process.
wasn't me. Like I said, my dad was right there through that decision. And, the thing was, and it wasn't bad money. I mean, I think I was projecting maybe $90,000, which is a lot of money in Keokuk.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think that this is our best year, what is a bad year going to look like? Now you're down to low money, and it's like, I don't want to go through a bad year with all this exposure. You've got 7 people. They could easily do something wrong. You could get sued for, and, there's got to be better things.
Yeah.
But it was just a list of failures for me, I guess, that led to ultimately what made me successful. But it was like a grind. And I've learned how to grind and work. And that's something I want my kids to understand, is that nothing comes easy. And so, like, I haven't hired any of them to come back and work with me. I want them in the world and to really feel the pressure of work. Not that this wouldn't be work for anybody that steps in behind me. It's always going to be work.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, yeah.
Just to learn how to work without me handing them an opportunity is what I want.
So, Judd, speaking of legacies and passing on those sentiments. Can you tell us about your father, your hero? We would love to hear what you have to share about your experience with him, your experience working through grief, as you mentioned earlier, as well as any advice that you have for people who are going through similar experiences.
Sure. Yeah, my father, as you said, that was my hero for sure. And I know Gibby knows the feeling of losing his father. I think you guys you lost your grandfather and he lost his father maybe a year before me. Well, my dad was my best friend besides my wife and my kids and my family, and he was someone I talked to every day. And every single major decision I ever made, I bounced off of him. And so I got a phone call a year ago in February, on February 13th, from my dad, and he didn't know he was sick at all.
Mm.
And he said, "Hey, I knew he had pneumonia, and they were working through some of that." And he said, "I got a bad call from the doctor. I went to Quincy. They looked at me. Everything looked fine, and he said I was recovering. I got back home, and he calls me and says, 'Hey, we took another look. It looks like you may have some cancer going on, and we really don't like what it looks like now that we're taking a hard look at it. We need to get in and do some testing.'" And so he went right down there and they did the testing. Every single turn, it was something worse than before. And by April 28th, he was gone. So he was, from the moment he found out he had cancer to the moment he was gone, we had maybe 75 days to, let it all sink in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so grief is new to me, and it's, I've never had to, I never lost a dog. I've never lost a sibling. I never buried any of my good friends. And so this is my first experience with it. And it was overwhelming at first for me.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Angela, honestly, there was a lot of tough nights for me. Just getting used to being on this earth without my dad. He's always the patriarch, the leader of the family. And so I had to kind of step into it. And I'm a religious person, so I do have faith. And one thing that I stumbled upon that helped me with it, and it sounds so simple, but for me, it's really helped me, is just have an attitude of gratitude. And so our prayer life, Ange and I pray every night, whether she's carrying the prayer, I'm carrying the prayer, we take turns, and we touch on all the stuff we're thankful for. And it's really hard to have a negative attitude when you have a thankful attitude. And I carried it a step further. When I get out of bed in the morning and put my feet on the floor, the first thing I do is thank God for waking me up. And I point out, 5 things that are just right in my face that I'm thankful for. And you start to realize, so blessed. My dad lived 76 years. And, it's created some problems. I'm having to care for my mother, and it's just made life more stressful. But what a legacy he left in my heart, and for me to move forward with. That's just been helpful for me, is to focus on what I'm thankful for.
Gratitude.
Wow.
It's a great booster.
Yes, it is.
First of all, our condolences. So sorry to hear about your loss. Thank you for sharing that story. I want to highlight a couple of things. The first one being attitude for gratitude. Love the rhyme. That's so easy to remember. I love how that's the last thing that you think about before bedtime, because that carries over into our dreams and our subconscious. And then the grounding exercise, getting out of bed in the morning and choosing positivity and gratitude first thing off the bat. Could you imagine how we would all work through our daily lives if that was the last thing that we thought about and the first thing that we thought about waking up?
Absolutely. I think it'd be helpful. You're right. And I didn't learn that till later, it's really helped me. So I thought it might be good to mention on here anyway, right?
No, Thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate it greatly. Before we move on from this experience, could you tell us any moments with your dad that really stand out from, it could be from your childhood or from adulthood? You've talked a lot about his influence on you working through your career, but anything memorable or anything silly or light or funny, whatever you want it to be. It could be serious. We'd love to hear a story or two.
We're really lucky that, several of my kids like to play golf, and my dad was a big golf person. and a baseball guy. So I played baseball in college because he loved baseball. He coached me in baseball, and it was always kind of our thing. It was never my favorite sport, but it was the one I wanted to do the best at because he loved it. But anyway, this golf deal, we started, I think the first tournament we held was clear back in 1992, maybe. Every year on Father's Day, my brother and I started with my dad. My mom would ride along, and we would compete 18 holes of golf in a golf tournament. And we had a little traveling trophy. It was actually just a little clear plastic square box that my mom put the winning golf ball in. And then we'd write,
Cool.
she wrote our names on it, and then she put the years on there. So there was a golf ball for me and my brother, then my dad, and then now my sons are involved. And so every year we played that tournament, and it was really kind of fun. He hadn't won one for a while, but when he was, I guess it would have been, he was 74 years old. He shot a 74 over at Deer Run Golf Course, which is pretty good score.
That's a good score there.
And he beat us in the golf tournament. I think he beat my son, who's a really good player, by a few strokes. It came right down to the left. Almost made a hole in one on the last hole after he was already up a stroke, and my son had already teed off, and he missed the green, and then my dad put it that far from the hole. So
yeah,
it was a pretty cool moment for him. But every year to play that was amazing. We go to his house and cook out and just hang out.
Great tradition.
Amazing tradition. Yeah, how fun.
Yeah. And then the year after my dad died, which would have been, he's been gone a year now, but right after he died, so Father's Day was in June, he died in April 28th. My Uncle Rick came down and stepped in for him and played probably be the last Father's Day Classic like that.
Yeah.
I'll probably still play with my boys, but we'll probably, maybe put the rest of it to rest. But
Yeah.
he stepped in and we had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Memories.
Yeah.
That's a great way to honor such a great tradition with a stand-in like that. I love that story.
That was good.
Yeah.
Jed, can you tell us about a random life hack that you have that everybody could benefit from hearing?
And this is one I thought of this, and one of these that I feel like I didn't learn early enough was what really works for me is, like, I call it wash, rinse, and repeat with a heavy emphasis on repeat. It's just discipline of the exact same thing every day. So, like, in my world, I have to be here doing certain things to be successful, but it's everything from the last several years. My alarm goes off at 6:05 and again at 6:15, and I'm out walking at 6:30 in the morning. And I'm earbuds in, I'm talking to my second best friend. My wife is my best friend. We talk, and he only works here 3 days a week now. He lives in Coralville, but he's out walking, and so we got the earbuds in and we're talking. And I think just to have that male influence on me as well, and I've always felt like iron sharpens iron. That's a great way to start your day. And then I come in, I shower. I'm in the shower by 8:00. I've got 5 miles under my belt, and I'm at work by 9 every day, and I work till 5, and then every evening with my wife. And the evenings are different because we all have different stuff that comes up. But I try to spend a lot of time with my family and kids. But the discipline of how I handle my days has led to the success in this business. At least it was required. Yeah. And I've just found that discipline and repetitive discipline and doing things again and again the same way, like you'll find me eating the same foods. I mean, I am a creature of habit. And now that I've got good habits and good success, I feel like that's a great way to live.
That's a great point. Once you get those good habits in place, what did you say? Did you say wash, rinse, repeat?
Wash, rinse, repeat. Heavy emphasis on repeat. Yeah, that's my game. Yeah.
I love it. The consistency.
Judd, can you share a quote or two that you use in your daily life that you'd like to pass on to?
Oh, yeah, I do. I have some quotes I jotted down. I just got to figure out where I put them. One of the early quotes I learned in business that I like came from Howie Sutliff. Do you know Howie Sutliff, Gibby? You remember him?
I don't recall.
Sutliff Real Estate. Have you heard of that? You remember that? It was on Main Street.
Yep, I do now.
Yeah. Sutliff Real Estate.
Yep.
Anyway, Howie always said that his dad taught him that if there's nothing going on, you better be doing nothing at your desk. And that to me, that was a big one to me. Like, just because I don't have clients lined up, I mean, it doesn't mean you get to stay home till noon and relax and maybe go golf. I mean, you better be at the desk, and you can always find work that makes you better. One my dad taught me that I've tried to always use, especially when I was in leadership positions where I had employees. Like when I ran River Hills Village, you wouldn't believe it. There's 115 employees out there, which is crazy.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is a
You
bunch.
wouldn't think so, but there a bunch of nurses, and you have a management team. Anyway, my dad always would say that you need to surround yourself with people that are better than you, and then treat them extraordinarily well, and then everything will take care of itself. So like
That's so smart.
he had his team that he like at the bank, and when he ran the hospital, he would hire really good people, the best people he could find, and he'd pay them more than they were worth, and then he would promote them to the point where some of them would take his job at some point. So I've always tried to focus on that, and I think that's a great quote he always used.
I'm a huge believer of that one, by the way. If they're getting paid well, that's one less thing that they're complaining about or they have issues with. The other thing is when you give them that rope and let them go out there and do their job, and you're not micromanaging because you hired good people. The team that I've put together are phenomenal, and I use that same thought process.
I mean, I can imagine being a Navy SEAL that you have seen what excellence looks like too. So you can probably have a pretty good idea of who to hire and who not to hire just based on your life experiences.
We just, self-motivators, people that you can depend on that are going to show up every day. I mean, that right there is a big one.
There's another one I was thinking of. I had it written down here. The other one my dad used a lot was if you knew my dad, he's a man of few words, but every time he spoke, it was really wise stuff. He's just one of those type of people. And he always said, number one, be quiet and listen more than you talk. And he said, if you find yourself as the smartest person in the room, then you need a new room.
Yep.
And that was one he used a lot. And he said, if you like the sound of your own voice, it's usually a sign of your intelligence.
Yeah.
It's kind of ruthless, but it's not. That one's not completely true. But those are all the things.
Maybe
It's
not
pretty true.
Don't need to shut up.
That one I feel like applies everywhere, particularly in online communities. I've been thinking a lot lately about how mean people are to each other online, and like why I was talking to Gibby about this earlier. Why do people choose to make someone's day worse when they could choose to make someone's day better? But on a grander scale, why do we talk so much in general? And if we think about how, like, in comment sections online or like on threads, people feel compelled to give their opinion. And I think that we've lost the plot a little bit when it comes to the internet. Like, we don't have to give our opinion on everything all the time. We can just sit back and observe and absorb and reflect and do all of those internal thinking measures without pushing it out to other people. Kind of the same sentiment there with just don't, just listen.
Yeah. Speaking about people being mean, I'll tell you a story going back. When I bought Kramer Real Estate, so I worked at Remax in St. Louis, and then I tried to get back to town. So the mom and pop real estate shop, I bought it. They were looking to sell. In a small town, at least, they do these ribbon cuttings, and it was in the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
We're standing there, cutting the ribbon at the Kramer Real Estate, and someone, and it was the picture was this big. It was nothing, and then it said, Judd Miller by Kramer Real Estate, whatever. Someone went to the trouble of cutting that out of the newspaper, and they put a caption from my mouth, and it said, "Thanks, Daddy." And
What?
Dad didn't buy the company for me, but that was a motivator for me. I carried that around in my wallet for probably a year after that happened. And my dad, I showed it to my dad one time, and he said, "Hey, throw that away. That's not doing anybody any good. You can't. Every time you open your wallet, you want to look at that and think about that. There's so many good things going on in your life. You don't need to focus on the criticism that people give you. And that's from growing up in this small town. And I don't know how big was the town big where you grew up, Lex, or not?
I grew up in different places.
Because you had you moving around, right?
Yeah. Some
But
bigger,
probably
some
bigger communities, right?
definitely bigger
So
than Keokuk.
we grew up in Keokuk, Iowa, where if Gibby decided to throw a rock at a car that drove by, it's going to be in the newspaper. It's going to be down at Hy-Vee at the gas station and every
knows.
coffee group in town.
Yeah.
And my dad was kind of an influential person here, so every mistake I made was magnified, and everything I did good was only because my dad was who he was and all that kind of stuff. So that one just kind of stung a little bit.
But you chose, I got to hear more about why you chose to carry it around and use it as a motivator. And was that a positive thing for you?
I don't know if it was positive or not. It upset me, and I wanted to react to it. I didn't know how to react. They didn't sign the letter, for one, so I didn't know who sent it.
Probably for the best.
I had a few ideas, but I didn't know.
I got to tell you that. So where I'm seeing is you look at that, and you, at least this is how I was when for instance, when I went through Buds, I was told by lots of people that I'd never make it, and I carried that. There were several in my heart and my mind. I carried that when times got rough. I was like, dude said I wasn't going to make it. I'll push through a little bit longer. And
exactly right.
That's how I look at it. So an interesting story. I passed that on to my guys that were Bud's recruits that were going to go when I was a bit of an instructor at the time. And every one of them, they would come to me. It was a pass down log for them. Everyone would come and say, Gibby, do you think I'm going to, or Instructor Gibson, do you think I'm going to make it through Buds? I'm like, nope, don't think you will. Every one of them. I told them every one of them.
So they could use that as their fuel too. Yeah.
I've taken some criticism for that because they're like, well, wonder if they were like, hey, Instructor Gibson said I was going to make it.
But they all know that you didn't really, that was more metaphorical.
I think that they knew my heart. So
hopefully.
Trying to keep them motivated. I like it.
Man, a bunch of them made it through.
But a better motivator would be someone being kind. Don't you think somebody being kind? I don't know. You can. I do believe in you.
I would have reacted to that. That's what I would have needed from him. And like he said, I'm going to show you. You're going to say I don't make it. I'll show you. And it was the same thing carrying that in my wallet.
That's how I related to that immediately when you said, yeah, I had that in my wallet. That's how I gained strength. I'll be all right.
Okay.
The other thing I'll touch on, and I've used this at Principal too, because the guy that hired me to work at Principal after I had a good year and qualified for, maybe I qualified 2 or 3 years in a row, and we were at some meeting somewhere, and he was laughing, and he said, I always told people there was money in Keokuk, that it wasn't just this armpit of Iowa, terrible, nasty, disgusting place. And so like every time I qualify, I still have a chip on my shoulder because of where I'm from.
Yeah.
No one expects us to make it every single year. They don't expect us even in the top 10 in Eastern Iowa, which is a really good, Iowa's a big hub for Principal. And everywhere I go, people are always like, Keokuk, it's terrible. It's going under. It's a terrible place to be raised. Oh, it's Methville, and all this kind of stuff. So I still have the chip on my shoulder, and that chip's going to get me the 20 years that I'm looking for.
There you go.
If I stay healthy.
Stay healthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing that after all this time that they're still viewing Keokuk as like an underdog when here you are consistently making it and qualifying.
Yeah. There might be a few.
It's had a hard time though.
Were there any other quotes that you wanted to share, or did we hit up the ones that you had?
The other one my dad used, I think there's just one more here. The guy I bought my business from would always say, just always do what's right. I've always clung to that and how I handle this business. If you just do what's right, everything else will fall into place. But my dad used one that Angela has kind of adopted. This too shall pass. And every time I was in deep water or, some stressful thing in my life, he always used that. It was such a calming thing that I love that one too. And I looked it up when I started looking at quotes, and it didn't come from the Bible. It came from way back. They said Abraham Lincoln used it a little bit, but it started well before that. But I don't know if you guys have heard that one a lot.
Oh, I've
But
heard
this
it a
too
lot.
shall pass is a big one my dad always used.
That's good.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a children's book. I don't think it's called This Too Shall Pass, but it's something like This Will Pass or something. It touches on anxiety some kids feel and how when you're unsure about something that's happening, you can take deep breaths and you can remind yourself that this will pass and things will move forward. And like the metaphor is that the character and his uncle are on a big adventure out at sea and they're encountering like pirates and sea monsters and crazy things like and storms and things, but they take deep breaths and they say this will pass and move forward. I'll have to send you a picture of it later,
I like it.
maybe for the grandkids or something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love these quotes. I love that you've brought them onto the pod. Quotes are something that are meaningful to me too, because words are such a powerful way of moving through life, holding words and applying them consistently, like you've talked about.
Do you have a favorite quote?
Me, off the top of my head?
Can you pull one off the top of your head? What about you, Gibby?
Can you read this?
In all the paths you take in life, make sure a few of them are dirt. I like that.
Yeah.
Now
That's a good
that
one.
reminds, yeah, absolutely. So you like to get out in the nature hikes, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Dirt
And
roads.
I feel like a big part of life is connecting with nature and animals and trees. And so,
Okay.
yeah. Jed, we have one more question for you. And this is a question that you did not take from our question bank, but made on your own. So other guests probably won't have this one. What is the Ange effect and how has it impacted your life?
Okay, that's a big one for me. The Ange effect, and you guys know Angela, my wife. This girl just made me a better version of myself. Like if you kind of walk through my history, and I was the job hopper guy, and this and that. And I was not successful at a lot of things. I mean, I wasn't failures at those, but I was always trying to move the bar. But I really feel like behind every good person is a partner that helps lift them up. She just makes me a better version of myself. She looks at life from all kinds of angles that I don't always think of. My dad and Angela are the two people in my life that have ever been able to just really bounce every decision off of. Like, shockingly, because it caught me off guard with her, like my business decisions that I had to make. And she just always has a different perspective on maybe how to handle and manage that, even from my dad. So it's like you're getting all these different views. And she was always really a good listener. And that's one thing about her is people love to stop her and give her their life story. And it doesn't matter if she's at High V or somewhere, people are always talking to her. And she's a good listener. And I think that's why she's helped me along my path so well.
Yeah.
She really cares and loves people. And the other thing she affects in my life is she gets me out of the grind I talked about. Like I would literally walk, go to work, go home, get some food, and spend some time with the grandkids, whatever, go to bed, get up, do it again, get up, do it again. I would never go anywhere. And since I've been with her, she loves to travel and she always loves adventures. So I've gotten to do all this stuff that I just probably wouldn't have done.
Yeah. That's
So it's a
amazing.
nice fit for me. And that's the Ange effect for me. When I first started dating her, my dad, and I wasn't in the room when this happened, but he said to her, he said, "Hey, I know you love the kid because he doesn't have anything and you're still here. He doesn't have a bit of money. I don't know what his future looks like. And you're right here believing and buying into him." And she did. And I mean, if I was penniless, I guarantee you she'd still be by my side, which is something I really appreciate about her.
Wow.
Very
That's
cool.
amazing. Yeah. Everybody deserves to have their version of the Ange effect in their life. That's pretty amazing. And lucky.
I have one more question for you. It's more of a plug. I don't know what it is, but from what I understand, have you started an association or a fundraising?
I didn't start it alone, but there was 12 guys in Keokuk that originally 12, and I think we're up to about 48 now. But the original 12, we call it Keokuk 12, and we actually, everyone committed to $500 a quarter into this pot of money. And then what we do is we try to focus on children and veterans, and we try to focus on just needy situations in the Keokuk area. We really try to focus on Keokuk, but because we've donated tons of money to the food bank. We've got a real cool thing that happens at Hawthorne School every year, where they put out Christmas presents, and for kids that can't afford to buy one for their moms or their dads, or the moms and dads can't afford to buy for the kids, they get to come in, pick out several gifts. And so we donated immediately. That was our first thing. We donated $10,000 to that cause. And then we put a lot of money in the food pantries. People have fires. We just give them $2,000 immediately. And James is a member of our group. James and Brenda, James is in there. And we welcome anybody. We have a dream of maybe that thing getting as big as 100 or 200 people, $2,000 a year from each person. Maybe we could impact Keokuk in the way it needs to be impacted. But we meet once a month at 5:30 at the VFW, and everybody in the group brings any need that we came across. And we've had some amazing testimonies, and they come to our Christmas party and they talk about how it really helped them. We just try to find needy, and there's so much need in Keokuk. It's not hard to find. We try to get rid of all the money. Like, we're not trying to hold money. We're not trying to build the thing up. We're literally just trying to give it to people that are in need.
So at your monthly meetings, you get together, you identify needs, and then you as a group decide how to put the funds towards those needs.
How much we want to give, absolutely. And we actually have a text group that if you come up with a need, someone approaches any one of our members, because we're all board members now. I think there's 48 of us, but a lot of them live all over the country, but they grew up in Keokuk. And so if someone has an idea, hey, this person, their house burned down, and then we'll literally just right on the spot, is everybody okay if we give them $2,000? And somebody says, yeah. Nobody says no. They just cut a check. So we're real quick to jump on stuff for people.
Which is how things
whereas
need to
a
be.
lot of these other groups can't do it.
Yeah, because they have so much red tape to cross.
Yes. So we're real chill as far as how we approach it. But
very cool.
It's been a real
Which
blessing.
is how community is supposed to be. That's amazing.
It is, yeah. It's called Keokuk 12, like Keokuk XII.
Okay.
Is that because it started with 12 people, or?
We started with 12 people, yeah. The brainchild behind it was a guy named Sean Skinner, and he called me and 10 other guys that he knew from the area, and we just decided to go for it. We've had a few drop off, but we've added more. So like I said, I think we're around 48 members now.
That's very cool.
Awesome. It really is very rewarding, to be a part of it.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. I'm glad you brought that up, Gibby. Can I bring something up that's not as cool, but still fun? I wanted to tell a random story that sort of has to do with Angela. So I was in college in Eastern North Carolina, and one day the UPS driver comes to drop something off, and I had on a Keokuk t-shirt, and I open the door, the guy goes, "Keokuk?" I'm like, "Yeah." He looks at my name on the package to see my last name, and he's like, "Oh, do you know Angela?" And I was like, "She's my aunt." And he's like, "I went to school with her." And I have no idea who this person was, but I was like, how is Keokuk, Iowa so small that no matter where you go, you're going to run into somebody who is or knows about Keokuk? It's amazing.
That is wild.
Yeah. Keokuk. It's the only Keokuk in the nation. So.
Yeah, no one's going to confuse that name with anything else.
That's a good point. Judd, we've had the best time with you today. This has been so lovely. I love the questions that you selected to talk about. We love the quotes that you brought on, the life experiences that you've shared, and how that has propelled you forward and fueled you. And I know that I have some takeaways, I'm sure Gibby does as well, that we can apply to our own lives. And we feel just so fortunate that you've brought those sentiments onto our podcast today. So thanks again for being here.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me.
Very much appreciative.
All right.
Well, we're going to give you your day back.
Soon. Yeah.
All right, you guys have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you, Judd.
Wow, that was an awesome time with Judd.
Yeah, that was an awesome time with Judd.
You know, something I love is that he was very intentional about the people that he chose to talk about. His dad, his best friend, who's his wife,
Mm-hmm.
and as he said it, his second best friend, who's his best friend. And then
Yep.
a couple of other people sprinkled in, of course, his kids and grandkids and his family. But that was something that he came to the podcast knowing, here's who I want to highlight because they are important to me in my life.
Yep. Repeat and rinse.
Wash, rinse, and repeat.
Yeah.
Heavy
Almost
emphasis
had
on
it.
repeat. Repeat and rinse. You just start with repeat. Okay, let me tell you something very random about
Okay.
wash, rinse, and repeat. So you know where that comes from?
Is it a movie?
No.
I don't
It's
know.
like the back of a shampoo bottle. The shampoo bottle tells you wash, rinse, and repeat.
Yeah.
Okay, so nobody really does the repeating. Like, do you know anyone who washes their hair twice?
No, I don't.
I do actually sometimes.
You do?
Yeah, the point is there's this scene from classic early 2000s TV show Lizzie McGuire featuring Hilary Duff, where there's this like popular kid named Ethan who's supposed to have like really amazing hair, and everyone's obsessed with like the popular kid with the amazing hair. And in one episode, one of the parents, Lizzie's parents, says, "How do you do your hair? You know, how do you get your hair to be like that?" And he's like, "You know, when it says wash, rinse, and repeat, I don't repeat." Something like that. And I've always thought about that because one day as an adult, I was like, what happens if you do repeat? And I washed my hair twice and I was like, I kind of like it. Anyway, back to the metaphor that Jed brought on with wash, rinse, repeat, and the power of consistency and discipline, as he
Right.
phrased it. Pretty awesome. And something that I love about that he brought on was you have your goal, you work towards it, you chip away at it every day, you stick to your routines, you follow that discipline. But then here comes Angela, who's like, let's go on adventures and travel and let's change the way that you're doing things a little bit with the sprinkle of exploration.
Yeah.
And how he's like, that's not something that what I would have done. And now I'm doing these cool things that I would not have done. And I love that he has shared this person that compliments him so well, raises him up, is a listening ear, helps him make decisions, and then also pushes him to try new things that he might not set his time aside for. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. You know, something that I thought about is he had said job hopper several times,
Yeah.
and failures in that. Again, back to the way he described it, there's a couple things on that I would like to mention. First of all, it sounded like every one of his decisions was, there was a decision matrix that he put together. Like, hey, this is what I think is the best choice.
Yeah.
So who
very
cares what other? Yeah, it's a calculated risk that he was taking. The other thing is starting over, incredibly hard.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, some people, and it's not a hit against them either. They get something, they stick with it, and that's what they got.
Yeah.
So it's an individual decision, calculated risk, and you do what you got to do for you.
You know, and if I could expand on that, something that I did not say that I was thinking as he was telling his story was how much bravery and courage it takes to move to something else. And then to do that many times and to have this faith that you're going to find the right thing at some point, and but it's okay to keep moving on. That's not easy.
Not at all.
That's not easy like in the workload, but that's also not easy in the mental load of, like you said, the risk of it. That takes a lot of courage to move through that until he found the thing that he settled on and he feels so confident and great about. I think that is a testament to the type of person he is. And I hope that he feels really proud about the entire journey, start to finish.
I agree.
I love that the way that the company principal has their annual conferences that you qualify for. And I loved the description of how hyped up it is and how it can fuel the people who work in the company. And I feel like that's the kind of stuff that we all need, whether it's in our business or not. Like, we all need things that hype us up.
Yeah. You definitely want to feel that you're at value for whatever you're doing.
Good point. Oh, that's a lot of things.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he really brought it. Thanks again, Judd.
Thanks, Judd.
I think that's another episode of Porch Swing People.
I agree. Porch Swing People, out.
Porch Swing People is recorded and produced by Lex and Gibby. Opening music was written and produced by Michael Gibson. Porch Swing People is a podcast featuring everyday people. If interested in being a guest, email us at porchswingpeeps@gmail.com.